Like and subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Governments might take over startups if they think in developing services. Have you ever tried to fill out your tax form or submit files to authorities? Some countries are highly digitized and have made the leap into digital transformation, such as Sweden, Estonia or Lithuania. Others, including the world's most developed nations, are lagging far behind. In some cases, digitization hasn't simplified government services, it has merely shifted the red tape online. In fact, global data from Accenture shows that more than half of survey respondents find access to government services frustrating, and more than one-third finds government processes and interactions intuitive. I believe governments should behave more like startups, offering innovative services and products to their citizens, essentially their customers. When launching a new service or innovating an existing one, the government should follow the same rules as an innovative startup, focused on the needs and satisfaction of its users. Last month at the World Government Summit in Dubai, I spoke on two related topics: what governments can learn from entrepreneurs and how they need to take innovation into account when developing services. I want to focus on the second. When I talk to government leaders around the world about their digital services and digital transformation, I constantly hear it as complex, and occasionally, I need someone to take care of it for me, and that's why it is expensive. It does not matter whether it is DMV services, tax issues, social security or other services. The experience is the same. And you're right, it is complex. When governments offer digital services, they have to support 100% of the cases, and that is difficult to achieve. How do we change that? What do we have to do differently? Change the mindset and think like a startup or a product developer in a commercial enterprise. Focusing on the user is a lot harder than it looks. We all want to believe that we understand our customers, but the reality is that each of us is a sample of a person, an amazing sample, but still only one services. Users are different from each other, they do not all fall into the same homogeneous group or category. Innovators try everything just because it is new. Early adopters use an app even if it is new. Most people fear change, but early adopters don't mind. Once they understand the value to them, they will try the service or product. The early majority is afraid to try new things. They don't like change. In fact, their state of mind is, don't rock the boat. The late majority will only use something if they have to. You should always keep this category of users in mind, even if they are not relevant at the beginning. Service providers and product developers often get stuck with the first two groups, the innovators and the early adopters, without being able to reach the target groups, which are the early and late majority of users. They won't make any changes unless someone takes them by the hand and shows them how. The late majority is an even more difficult target group. They won't switch to a new service unless they have to, so discontinuing the old service should trigger the desired change. However, they are much more likely to switch to something completely different than what they are used to, for example from a manual service to a digitized one to a manual service that does the digital service for them, and is therefore complex and expensive. To put your user in setting the middle is pretty easy. You're retargeting the early majority group, and not any other group. You talk to many of them to get their perception of the problem and the services before you even start defining. Then you design the user page and run a test with a few hundred users who belong to the early majority group. In fact, at this stage, your server side can still be manual work. The idea is to learn user behavior at this stage. Then you iterate this process until it is optimized by users, a new set of hundreds of users each time, since your challenge is always with first-time users. Only then proceed to building the system, where the user flow is already optimized for the early majority of first-time users. In fact, this is the only way to build a successful user-centric service.